is. We're going live right now.
You got it where you can see comments?
Yeah, I guess. Something's set up here. We don't know what we're doing.
No.
We got no idea. We got one person watching us right now.
It's probably me.
Might be.
I've never been on a podcast where people have their shit together. I think it's impossible to do.
I'll tell you what, man, it is. It's especially the first run, you don't know what the heck you're doing anyway.
Well, I mean, we've done this a bunch of times. We just haven't done it where
this is a new platform. This is like new and improved.
Yeah, it's a totally different new thing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, that was fun. We got 3 people in here. What? There's 5 people.
They should throw us up some questions.
Yeah, throw up. Introduce yourselves over here in the comment section so we can see who's watching us show our ass on live on YouTube. See how this thing's turning out. You guys are going to help us develop this show. I've got the Team Tusker shirt on. It's trying to get in the spirit.
I saw that.
Yep. So what I got to ask, man, and we're like, we just did this week. It turned into freaking summer here. It's terrible today. It was like 90 degrees, 100% humidity. It was horrible.
It's been like that for about a week here. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. Headed to Colorado, or actually northern New Mexico, and then up to Colorado next week, though. So that'll be a sweet trip. I'll be ready to get out of here after this week.
You going up there for the lion hunting thing?
Yeah, we're going to go. I'm going to the Paloma and picking up Shorty, and then we're going up to the UHC banquet up at Gunnison, which is on the 29th, and going to hang out there in Gunnison. Then we're coming back to the ranch and going to be getting some dogs in shape for bear season and trying to get things lined out there and getting some work done on the ranch, and then headed to the Horses, Hounds, and Mules sale after that. So,
oh yeah,
you need to go to that.
When is it again?
It's July 12th and 13th.
Yeah, it's a tough time of year for me to do anything. We're so busy at work.
Yeah. Yep.
I think last year was the first time I heard of that. Was that the first one they did, or is that just the first time I heard of it?
That was the second one. This will be the third this year. So,
have you ever been?
I've never been. The crazy thing about last year was I was flying, and I was flying into Durango and then going to drive down, and got to the airport. My flight was supposed to leave at 8:00 in the morning. And as soon as my bag disappeared back into baggage and I walked around the corner, I got a notification that my flight was delayed till 10:30. Like, well, crap, and sat there in the restaurant kiosk area and did some work and had my computer with me. And then I get another one. It delayed till 11:05. And then it was like 2:00. And so I called United and I'm like, what's going on? It's like, well, we're going to route you to Dallas. I think there was like an EMP attack from the Chinese or the Russians on the whole air traffic control system. And I was just like, I'm not flying to Dallas to go to Durango. I was going for like 3 days, spend 2 days for, traveling for a 3-day trip.
I haven't been on an airplane. Let's see. It's been about 30 years since I've been on an airplane. I have no desire to get back on one. And it's not I'm not afraid of flying or anything like that. I've flown a ton, but it's just the hassle of all that, especially after September 11th. They just made it like it's, I haven't done it, but I've heard all the stories and I want no part of it.
You haven't flown since September 11th?
No, I mean, oh no. It's been,
I guess it's the new normal.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me that much, but remember the days when you you could walk to the terminal and meet somebody coming off the plane.
Oh yeah, right when they came off the
Yeah.
I don't know,
It's,
that little alleyway they put between the building and the plane. Yeah, you could stand right there and meet them.
yeah. Hold a sign, wear
I haven't
stupid T-shirts.
I haven't flown since then.
Yeah.
Like I
No,
say,
it's,
I flew enough when I was a kid, so
yeah. Well, there's
I would rather drive. I would rather drive 20 hours than fly somewhere.
if you look at the logistics of the whole thing, because if I fly to like Colorado Springs from here, I got to hit a connector in Denver, but and my flight leaves at 8 o'clock. I got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. If the car's packed, up at 5, get to the airport by 6:30, go through everything, sit there and wait, and then you end up getting there at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. A lot of times, because I don't fly first class, obviously, so I'm always hitting the cheap flights and trying to do the cheapest route possible. And the time saver, you'll save some time, but
yeah, not a whole lot. Like we're doing a thing this weekend. A bunch of us are camping this weekend for a friend of ours who died, and one of our friends is from California. Well, you met it, Cali Joe. He was at Earl's.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's flying in for it, and I was talking to my brother-in-law today, and I was like, "What time you got to pick up?" Because my brother-in-law's going to go pick him up in Tulsa from the airport, and he's like, "He's going to be here Thursday at 2 in the afternoon." I said, well, "When's he leaving?" He said he's leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, he must have got a cheap flight if he's leaving California at 5 in the morning and getting to Oklahoma at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, but that's 5 o'clock in the morning. There is 7 o'clock your time. So
Yeah,
he's got what? He's got 7 hours in travel.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
he drives it pretty regular. I mean, a few times a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a 24-hour, road trip.
Yeah.
Drive time 24 hours.
Right. Did you drive to New Mexico when we bear hunted? Did you do any of the driving, or
I didn't do any of the drive. They won't let me drive because I drive too slow.
That's why it's a 24-hour drive from Oklahoma to California for you. No, that's probably about right.
No, that's about right.
Yeah.
I think Joe's in Northern California.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they won't let me drive because they drive 95 to 100, and I drive 65.
I used to be a speed demon, but anymore it's like, I don't know. I'll drive the speed limit, obviously, but I just don't get in a hurry anymore. I think that's just part of the whole getting older thing.
I think it is. I mean, there seems to be I was behind a guy. I think it was this morning. Yeah, I was going to work this morning, and this guy was doing 15 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone.
Scared.
Oh my goodness. And I was behind him forever. And then finally we branched off into 2 lane, and I passed him. Of course, when I passed him, I got to take a look to see who this person is who's doing 15 and a 40. And he looked like he's about 95 years old. So I think the older you get, the slower you drive.
Yeah, I
Probably
think
because
so
you can't
too.
see anything.
That's me at night anymore. My night vision has really gone downhill a lot. I used to be able to drive all night long, and if I could make it until sun up, if I could drive through the night, and once the sun started coming up, man, it's like I hit another gear.
Yeah. That's what we did when we was going into Mexico to bear hunt with you. Tanner drove 3/4 of the way, and then he started getting tired at night, and then Cody started driving, and I rode co-pilot to keep him awake. And we were getting pretty damn tired. And then as soon as that sun started to peek over the horizon, you just catch that second wind, and it's like, okay, I'm over being, eyes aren't heavy no more.
Right.
But aside from stupid shit, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, what you got going on? Do you want to talk about what you're doing this weekend?
Oh, I mean, we're just, yeah, I'm not having a problem talking about it. I mean, a friend of ours, Colby Ingram, who was murdered a couple years ago, we just had his funeral last week, and we've been waiting for that funeral. We've known he's been dead for a while, but criminal trial and all this stuff, they couldn't have the funeral until last week. So then this weekend we're getting together and throwing a party and fishing and camping and just it's kind of like a wake, I guess you'd say. You
Yeah.
know, a funerals, especially when you're talking about somebody younger, like a funeral is kind of for the family, you know, which I do have to, I mean, it's not really to cut loose, but I will say, like, so I rode with Tanner to the funeral. Tanner and Colby were friends from way back in school. I didn't
Yeah.
meet them. I didn't meet them until they were about 17. But so me and Tanner rode to the funeral together, and Tanner pulled into the store, and I just waited in the car. And then Tanner came out with a 6-pack of Busch Light Tall Boys. And Tanner's not a big drinker. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And Busch Light 16 ounces were always Colby's drink. Tanner's like,
Sidewinders.
He's like, "I got it for Colby." He's like, "After this funeral, me, you, and a couple other close friends, we all got to slam one at the cemetery for Colby." So we did, but that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, so the funeral is kind of for the family. It's kind of tame, but this weekend we're going to cut loose in true Colby fashion and kind of honor his life in a way that he would like.
Was he into the trout lining and the catfishing type stuff? I mean, is that
Oh
why you
yeah,
guys are doing that?
oh yeah. Me and Colby would go down there all the time and camp on the weekends and run trot lines and jugs and pole fish and we'd eat. I remember one time we was down there. We didn't bring anything. We brought a sack of potatoes, a cast iron skillet, and cornmeal, and we ate fried catfish 3 times a day for 3 days.
Yeah.
I like catfish, but by the end of that weekend, I was sick of it. We did have some fried potatoes in there, but it was
Yeah.
mostly catfish. So yeah, we're gonna do that this weekend. It'll be fun.
You're just going to take potatoes and a cast iron skillet and some cornmeal?
Pretty much.
Really? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I'm sure other people will show up with stuff. But that's all I'm gonna bring.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of strategic thinking anyway. Because, you know, I mean, anytime you go to a camp like that, it's like when we went bear hunting. We tried to plan out meals and do different stuff, but it was, you always bring more food
Yeah.
than what you need. And you end up wasting food and everything else. So the strategic thing is just to think, well, everybody else is going to bring food. I'll just bring cast iron skillet and some cornmeal.
Yeah. No, that worked out good in New Mexico because we always do that. We'll be camping out here, fishing on the lake in the summer, and there'll be a bunch of us, and we'll say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna, you know, camp for the weekend and cook out in the evening." And there'd be 4 or 5 families show up. Well, everybody brings a full, you know, enough food to cook 5 different meals, you know, and we end up throwing away so much of it. So, yeah, New Mexico worked perfect where we just like divvied it out where it was like Chris has got Monday night, Cody's
Yep.
got Tuesday night, Ed's got Wednesday night, Tanner's got Thursday night, you know.
And Seth is just a mooch.
Yeah. But we didn't hardly waste any food.
No, we were good. Other than that stew, you made that stew and it. Did you eat that the next day? You
Yeah.
did eat. You heated it up and ate it the next day.
Yeah, and I took some of it home and ate it when I got back home.
That's where we got into that whole conversation. It's like, oh yeah, all you got to do is just add some water on it. And you said you leave a pot of stew on the wood burner for like a week, and all you do is add some water to it and add stuff to it for a week or two.
Yeah, longer than a week. I mean, in the winter we'll do that for 2 weeks. I mean, just going on 2 weeks. And when you start getting low, you just, you know. Well, I was telling somebody at the funeral, at Colby's funeral, somebody brought it up, and they're like, "Yeah, Colby was talking about because Colby lived with me for a little bit, and one winter, and one of his cousins brought it up. Like, yeah, Colby was telling me about your 14-day stew, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'd come home from work, the stew be getting low, and I'd come home, and Colby would be like, I shot 2 rabbits, and I went ahead and threw them in the stew. But I mean, it might start as beef stew, and there might end up being squirrels in it, rabbits in it. You just keep replenishing meat and vegetables, and I swear to God, it gets better. I mean,
it gets better.
Oh, it gets way better.
There's no way.
Of course.
That's like, how do you combat? Aren't you afraid of salmonella poisoning? Or
you're keeping it cooking the whole time. It's on top of the wood stove the whole time. You just kind of scoot it off to the side where it's just like a low simmer.
Huh.
So yeah, I mean, it's too hot for bacteria to grow.
I guess that's true. You always think this stuff through.
Well, like, when people are like,
yeah, but that stew in New Mexico didn't sit on low simmer. That sucker sat out in the sun while we were out bear hunting, and then you came back in and heated up and ate it.
Yeah, but you heat it up, you burn it bacteria off.
All right, let's take a little roll call here real quick. We got Trey from North Carolina, my buddy T.L. Jones from Tennessee's in here. Throwback Kennels. I don't know who you are, Throwback, but I'm sure your name isn't Throwback. Your mama didn't love you very much if she named you that. Your dad probably named you or something. And Kirk Rogers from Maine. So, yeah. What do you guys think about Ed's 14-day stew? You got to tell the story, though, about being in Africa and drinking the water.
I mean, it's kind of the same principle. So, like, my senior year of high school, lived in Kenya on the east coast of Africa. And when you get there, my dad was with the government. So, like, when we get there, they they got housing for us and everything, but they give us all kinds of stuff. But they give us a water distiller. And, like, don't drink the water, because you'll get parasites and it'll make you sick. And we had indoor plumbing, but we were supposed to distill all our water. Mom cooked with distilled water. We drank distilled water. Well, they did. But I just, I started where I would just go to the tap, not drink a big old glass, but I would, take a shot of water out of the tap a couple times a day, and just did that for a long time. And then just kind of weaned myself onto their water. And then I just drank normal, because my reasoning was always like, I guarantee you this African who lives over here in this mud hut does not have a water distiller, let alone electricity. So it's possible you can do it. But yeah, I mean, it's like
your mom went, but she was like, "You're not drinking that water, are you?"
Oh yeah, she went totally crazy. But it was just kind of an inconvenience because not that there was a bunch of restaurants, but there were, but
they were probably worse for you than drinking the water, weren't they?
Maybe. But I mean, what I was getting at, so like if you go out to a restaurant and you're sitting down to eat and you order a glass of Coke or tea, or they don't really have tea there. They have hot tea, not iced tea. But if you order a drink, like even a Coca-Cola, they're going to bring it to you in a glass with ice in it. Well, that ice is tap water. So then my mom would be like, I'll take a Diet Coke, but no ice, and then drink a warm Diet Coke because you're afraid of the water. Where I was like, I'm going to be here for a while. I might as well just get my system used to it.
Yep. Here's TL's comment. He goes, there's a holler full of hippies here that have a perpetual stew pot. And we've talked about this. You're kind of borderline hippie anyway.
No, I'm not. Like, hippies are borderline. Hippies are borderline me. Like, they. No, but I mean, for real. I mean,
how close are hillbillies and hippies to each other?
Pretty darn close, I think. I mean, I always say that hippies stole hillbilly culture and put a little more drugs in it. Hillbillies do drugs, but they put more drugs in it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Folk music, living off grid, you know, making your own clothes, making your own music.
Yeah, but there's something else that goes with. I mean, I can relate to hillbillies. I are one, and being self sufficient and stuff like that. But hippies are just, yeah, they just something different about them. It's like for hillbillies, we do stuff outside and we work and we do stuff like that, and then we'll take a shower afterwards. Freaking hippies won't, and they like it.
I don't know. I think a lot of hippies, hippie's a broad term.
Well, define it. What is it?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's a broad term. I mean, it's hard to define.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think it's ironic because last Thursday you were at Colby's funeral on Thursday, and I didn't realize. Of course, we don't talk through the week because we started doing these raw dogs, and we always burn up too much good conversation. All I need to do is get you to shut down your Facebook account now, and then we can talk about a bunch of stuff because you'd have a bunch of things stored up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
or I'd forget it all.
Yeah. But you were at Colby's funeral on Thursday, and then I went and did something Friday. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, but then I decided that I needed to do it, and I went to Judas Bowling's funeral, and I thought it was just a visitation. But I missed the visitation the night before, and when I read the obituary, it was his actual funeral. And I thought, okay, it's an hour, and I kind of wanted to go to that anyway. But that sucker lasted 3 hours, and I'm not complaining at all because it was probably one of the most extraordinary experiences that I've ever seen at a funeral or a wake. And I kind of made a little post about it on Facebook, but I saw everything there. They celebrated each part of his life. He was a coon hunter. He was a race car driver, and he was a good family. He's real tight with his family. And the Bowlings are pretty well known for being a pretty rough crowd as far as the way they grew up and stuff like that. They weren't, when I was in law enforcement, I guess you could call it an adversarial relationship between them and I always kind of had a little bit of different spin on them because they were hound hunters and they were in coyotes and different things. And I think there's just a certain attitude that they had that was more old school than most modern hunters, just because the law said it was wrong didn't necessarily meant that they agreed with it, but I always found them to be real reasonable. But I remember one night I was working, and I was cutting across country during the night, and I saw a light flash across the sky, and it was deer season. So automatically you start thinking somebody's trying to poach a deer. And so I stepped on it and got up to the next county road and shut down back in this little lane. And this truck came by me and flashed his light out in the field along this wood line. And I got behind him, and they went right into Junior Bowling's house. And that's where Judith's dad lives. And I got there. I said, Junior, what are you doing? And Junior was automatically confrontational because I wasn't trying to kill no deer. I was just looking out in those fields to see if there's a coyote or a coon standing out there. Well, technically, it's still against the law to do that. You're not supposed to throw your light out of the truck when you're in possession of a rifle. And he was standing there. I could see the rifle hanging in the back glass. And I knew what he was doing. He had hounds in the truck. One of his sons was tying hounds up. They'd been out coon hunting and stuff like that. As soon as Junior knew that, he just chilled out, and he's pretty cool. It's not like we were going to sit there and have a group hug or anything, but I just had a different spin on them and a different take on them. And Judas, that whole thing made me realize, and I just bring the rough part up to say this. It's you start judging books by their cover, and you can really get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
And Judas's dad, Junior. When I got there, I didn't even recognize him. I did recognize him, but on the street, I wouldn't have recognized him. The only reason I recognize him is because he looks like a thinner version of Judas. And obviously, he was at the funeral, but he was playing the guitar and singing songs up front. That was some of the best. If you were at Earl's or Plot Days or wherever, and somebody was sitting around playing guitar and singing like this, he would have a crowd around him. I mean, it was that good. And he hung in there for that entire service, doing that, singing songs in honor of his son, and kept it all together. And at the end, when they played the final song, that last song that Toby Keith released, I can't remember what it's called, he just broke down and lost it, and grieved. He didn't lose it. He grieved for his son. But throughout that entire thing, I heard people that I've known my whole life, people that more than likely aren't socially acceptable in most crowds, and definitely weren't. If you had a most wanted list hanging at the game warden station, they were probably on it. But I listened to them get up continuously and say, "I'm the man I am because of what Judas did. He shared Jesus with me. He taught me how to be a family man. When I grew up in a broken home, didn't have anybody else, grew up rough, but Judas took me in. I looked at him like a bigger brother." And I sat there and I listened to all that. And the cool thing that he did too was he wrote letters. He had cancer, so he had some time to prepare. But he wrote letters to tons of people that meant so much to him in his life. And they had them come up, and he and his family had prepared stuff for them. Judas was involved with it too, and they prepared these plaques and frame prints and letters and different things for each one of these people. So even beyond the grave, he was still trying to contribute to people's lives. And that touched me a lot. It was cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yep. So this year for Father's Day, I thought, I'm not gonna wait for my kids to go to a funeral to hear that kind of stuff from me. Yeah. And so this year at Father's Day, we went over to my daughters and I wrote each of them a letter and challenged each one of them, both my daughters and my son. Told them how I felt about them, told them how I was proud of them, but then I didn't let them off the hook either. I challenged them to continue to live their lives and do the things that the way they need to live.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like at Colby's funeral, I think Colby was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 when he died. And I mean, and it was because of choices he made, in large part. Like I always say, like, like dope is bad for you. We all know that. Right. And you might live through the dope, but that if the dope doesn't get you, that lifestyle will, just by the people it put you around and the positions that it puts you in. And that's what got Colby. And Colby's funeral was cool in the sense that they didn't like sugarcoat it. I mean, the preacher who preached it had known him his entire life and knew him. And I wrote a couple things for it, and I didn't sugarcoat it. And, yeah, I mean, what I was getting at was that, sometimes like that, like you wish that, like if Colby could have been at his funeral and heard what was said about him, it might not have been his funeral. It might have been enough to wake him up.
Wow.
But I think it's important. I think truth is important, everybody who dies, they always, they were the best people ever. They always
Mm-hmm.
they walked into a room and lit it up and never met anybody that didn't like, nobody
Right.
that didn't
Right.
like them. And it's like, gosh,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't be good because those people die. But I've been to funerals like that where I knew the people and I'm like, I don't know this person that they're talking about at this funeral. Like I never met this person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like honest funerals.
And I felt like Judas's funeral was honest. Obviously his family's not has got a lot of good things to say about him. I was taking the intrinsic values that I saw, looking beyond the first layer of rough and but seeing the people that loved him the way they did and different things, it was just added a lot of value to my life and kind of woke me up a little bit. I sat there and I wondered. I was like, okay, I'm a Christian, and I think about that a lot, and have been active, raised my kids as that. But is anybody going to stand up at my funeral and say I shared Jesus with them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And are my kids going to know how much I cared for them? Is my wife going to know every day? I came home and I told her, I said, from here on out, I said, I don't want a day to go by that you don't know that I love you. So those are the kind of things that it taught me, and the rest of it. I mean, there was a lot of coon hunting stories and different things like that. And there were a bunch of coon hunters in that funeral. They took the dogs out to the cemetery. It was just really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the cemetery, but I saw the videos.
Yeah, they did Colby's funeral they didn't have it in a church. It was at graveside. But they played that song, take my hound, can I take my hounds to heaven? I think that's the name of it.
Yeah.
And then like right before the funeral started, Colby's dad comes up to me and I'd gotten the dog horn that Colby had made years ago. It ended up someplace else, but I'd gotten it back and I brought it to Colby's dad a couple months ago. And then at the funeral he had it and he came to me and he's like, hey, after we do this part and this part, he's like, I want you to get up and blow this dog horn. I was like, I'm not getting up in front of all them people and blowing that dog horn. And he's like, I figured you might say that. And so they had his wife do it, and she did a damn good job of it. Like, I told him after, I said, Becky probably blew it better than I would have blown it. But I thought it was pretty cool. And what was funny, so like after, I can't remember, I don't remember exactly because I'm not up on all that, but like there's with dog horns, there's different meanings by how you blow it.
Yep.
I think it's like one blow means like, where are you? 2 blows means these are short blows. 2 blows means I'm here. 3 short blows means come here. But there's all these kind of things. So Becky blew it for like 15 seconds, like straight. And it was really good. And then afterwards, I was like, I was like, why'd you blow it like that? And she was like, well, I don't know. It's just, thought that's how you did it. And I was like, well, if I remember right, I could be wrong, but if I remember right, like one long blast like that, like 15 seconds, I think, is signal for the hunt is over.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and they didn't even know it. It was just happenstance. But I was like, that totally fits. Like,
yeah. Well, I know TL's watching. I know that's TL Jones. They do that at funerals down there when a bear hunter dies down in the mountains of Tennessee.
Do they?
Yep. They all bring a horn and they blow it at the graveside. When I was down in Louisiana, down there with Chad Wall, they do the same thing down there. But there's a guy. I've got this book. I can't remember the woman's name that wrote it, but it's got to do with mountain living and different things like that. But she wrote a whole segment in there about how every house along the mountain range had a horn. You know, they all had horns, and they would communicate up and down the hollers like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, with their horns. And then John Broadhurst. Have you ever heard? Do you know John?
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah,
He's from England.
Yeah. Okay, have you ever heard him blow a horn? Because he used to be a hunt master over in England.
I don't know that I've ever heard him blow one.
Yeah, yeah. He and Paul Greenwood were sitting at the terrier trials down in Kentucky a couple years ago, and they're sitting on the porch, and I got him to sit there and blow horns and stuff, and it was pretty cool. Of course, Paul makes them.
Yeah,
you make you make them too.
Yeah, John's pretty good. Have you seen those walking sticks that John makes?
I've got 3 of them.
You've got 3 of them?
I've got 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yep. Yeah, I've got 2 hound walking sticks. I've got a bear, a carved bear on the top of one of them. I'll post some pictures of them on my Facebook account. I'll tell you one he's got that is cool. And I wanted to get one for, I was going to pick up one for my buddy Mike Colley, but he's got a tusk. It looks like the Tusker's pig right here, but a beautiful boar's head on the top of it. So the stick comes up, and then the handle part of it, the palmer on it, is a boar's head, and it is sharp.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's something else. Brett Vaughn's here. Hey, Brett, what's going on, man? Glad you made it. Luke Worthington, Chuck Reynolds is a bear hunter from Virginia. A lot of bear hunters in here tonight. Got some lion hunters. Luke Worthington made it. So one thing that I wanted to talk about for sure was this fiasco going on down Louisiana, and that's why I called this Snitches Get Stitches. But the cheaters on the hog hunting competition.
Well, I mean, first, we don't know that they cheated. I mean, we should put that out there. Like, they haven't had their day in court yet. I mean, they got arrested and apparently bailed out, but they haven't had their day in court, so we don't know that they're guilty.
The presumed cheaters, the accused cheaters.
Are
we gonna get technical? Or are we gonna be woke? And
no, I mean, I don't think that's being woke. I mean, if I could get arrested for whatever tonight, and I would hope that people gave me the benefit of the doubt till, the state.
I think everybody would except Tanner. Tanner and Cody would be sitting back going, "Yep, we knew it was coming."
Yeah, probably. But you know what I mean? I mean, I don't trust the government. So, they're innocent until proven guilty. That's a staple of American justice.
Sure. Yeah. But what was the deal? Give us the throwdown on it. What were they charged with?
Well, I mean, basically it's would it be theft by deceit, or I think they got them for theft by deceit, conspiracy, and then there was a couple like game violations in there.
I was wondering if there were any game violations. Probably transporting
across state line and then
wild hogs across state lines.
And then one of the guys didn't have a valid hunting license. Which, I mean, it's one of those deals like, I mean, I quit hunting tournaments probably 3 or 4 years ago. Part of it was just like getting older and it wasn't fun. But the other part of it was that it didn't matter. It didn't matter what competition. There was always some hubbub after, or even right there during, that so-and-so cheated, or, did you see that pig? There's no way that pig was caught with a dog. And it just got kind of distasteful to me, And it didn't used to be that way, 10 or 15 years ago. That was pretty uncommon that people would bellyache like that. And there probably was less cheating 10 or 15 years ago. It's one of those deals like if you're going to have a hog hunting competition, there's going to be some cheating. you know. But it used to be that it was like, so there'll be a rule that says in most competitions today that, everybody's got to hunt together. And if you have split bays, you know, you got to, and this varies contest to contest, but some of them say, so if you got split bays, all the team members have to go to one bay. And then after they get that pig taken care of, then everybody goes to the next bay. So it used to be, myself included, I've been hunting tournaments where that happened, and it was like, dude, I'm not doing that. We got bays that are 400 yards apart. I'm not leaving these dogs over here for the next hour and a half, and potentially getting them killed,
Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, we would all fudge the rules a little bit. So, yeah. So back then, we might say, screw that rule. You two go to that pig, and me and this guy can go to that pig. And yeah, technically that's cheating, but I think that's a little bit, I don't
But
think.
they're in a set written down sanctioning body for hog hunting contest, right? I mean, how's that
No,
go?
I mean,
You guys all just show up and you guys talk about what rules you want to follow before you go out?
oh, no. I mean, there's written rules. But what I'm getting at is that there's always been a little bit of fudging the rules, and that's going to happen. But what we're talking about is not fudging the rules. I mean, it was totally
Right.
catching pigs before the dates and holding them, to turn in and catching them out of state, which was blatantly against the rules.
But
So it's a little. So it's different. It's two different things.
Sure. Bass fishermen, that those kind of accusations have flown around in bass fishing tournaments too. Guys pre-fishing and tying up fish.
Yeah.
And having fish stashed somewhere and all that stuff. Obviously the competition coon hunting, somebody's always getting accused of cheating there. The difference in my mind though is like when those guys got caught shoving weights in those walleye up on Lake Erie,
Yeah.
those guys were roasted by their community, saying, I can't believe you would do this. And when you posted about it on Facebook, I saw people trying to defend these guys and talking about snitching and turning them in, and somebody turned them in and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't understand that mindset. It's like, if I go to pay my entry fee to compete at a tournament and then somebody else pulls some stunts like that, they just stole my entry fee money. They would steal my dog out of my truck. They would steal whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty, if it's true, it's pretty despicable. And the thing I don't get is like, so let's assume that the accusations are true, or let's assume that I did it. So I'm the guy who like went out 2 weeks before the tournament started, caught hogs, put them in pens, went out of state and did this,
Mm-hmm.
and just blatantly cheated, and then I won this competition, and maybe I got $4,000, $5,000, but that's kind of beside the point. What I got a belt buckle that said champion.
Right.
Every time I looked at that belt buckle, I would know that I'm not the champion. I cheated my ass off to get this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, maybe it's a different mindset. Like, I mean, to me, like when I had
we used to say the same thing. We used to say the same thing about guys that would go out and shoot a deer at night with a rifle, and they get their picture taken with it and they'd get it mounted and put it on the wall. For the rest of your life, you're going to have to tell the lie. Nobody, it's like, tell me about killing that buck. Nobody's going to say, yeah, I killed it out of the front of an F-250 with a.
I mean, I guess it comes from. I guess it depends on your. So if I shoot a deer at night, I didn't shoot him so that people would look at me and go, "Ooh, look at that great deer he shot." If I shoot a deer at night, it's so that I can eat that thing.
Oh, I get it. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
understand.
if I win a hog hunting competition, it's not
But
that.
most people that are going to shoot a deer at night are doing it because it's a big mossy horn buck out there that they either don't have permission to hunt there. We used to know where all the big deer were.
I don't know. I mean, around the house, I mean, most guys who shoot deer at night, they're just shooting them to eat.
That's
For
dumb.
for me, I mean,
Yeah.
for where I'm at, if somebody's hunting at night, that's what they're doing. They're eating. But
I
but back to the competition. So if I enter a hog hunting competition with the hopes of winning it, my motivation is not that so other people would look at me and go, "Look at how good he is." My motivation for wanting to win that is more about me than anybody else. So if I cheated at it, I would know I did. I would know that I didn't really win it. So I guess it depends on
well,
where
you're
you're coming.
talking about the very act of cheating though indicates that a person has no, they've got low morals or they've got compromised principles. What you're saying is that my own principles would keep me from doing that because I couldn't wear that belt buckle or I couldn't, do this or, display this and really claim the title because I
Well,
cheated to get it.
not even really that. Like, uh, it's like when I hunted competitions and wanted to win, it wasn't. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I personally wanted to see how I stacked up. Really
Exactly.
wasn't.
Because
Yeah,
it was
it
your
was.
own personal moral code.
I don't know. It really wasn't about morals. It was just I wanted to see how I stacked up against other hog hunters. I mean, I had enough morals not to cheat because I knew because that wasn't. I had
Well,
no
okay,
reason.
then let's say principles. Because you put in the time, you put in the time on your dogs, which takes discipline.
Well, not
You
even
had
really principle because it'd be like if you're going to go take an IQ test because you just are curious like how you stack up against most human beings. You wouldn't cheat on that IQ test if that was why you walked in there, right? Because you wouldn't get the answer you were looking for. So that's what I'm saying. So like when I hunted a competition, I didn't not cheat because of my principles. I mean, in part, but that really wasn't why I was there. The reason why I was there was to see how I stacked up. So if I cheated, then I wouldn't really know. I wouldn't find out how I stacked up.
well, I think that's the purest form and reason for competition.
Yeah.
But you want to see what I'm saying is it's a reflection or it's it's related to your principles and your moral fiber because you've already put in the work. You want to, and now you need to answer your own questions. The guy that doesn't put the work in, he doesn't put the work in on a competition dog or a coon dog, and he just wants to go and cheat. He's not accomplishing anything. But a guy that puts the work in, now he wants to take that dog and see how it stacks up.
Yeah. The competition coon hunter who puts in the work and doesn't cheat, he's evaluating himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's not looking for outside uh, validation of how good he is.
I agree with that 100%, and that's pretty much why I stopped competition hunting. I said for years I didn't need UKC or PKC to tell me whether I had a coon dog or not. And I don't. I know it sounds. I just don't. And
Well, yeah,
proving
I
it,
mean, yeah, I mean
proving it to somebody else isn't important to me either
because
anymore.
whether it's a bass tournament or a competition coon hunt or a competition hog hunt, even if you win, that doesn't really validate that you've got the best dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least in hog hunting, like man, the spots you got to hunt, you know, is a huge part of it. You could have the best dogs in the world, but if you don't have good spots with catchable hogs, you're not even gonna place. Which I mean, having that ground also shows that you put in the work to get that ground. I get that,
Yeah.
but very few competitions or very few IQ tests or whatever are a true measurement of what they're trying to measure. I think.
I think you're right. I mean, you even look at, um, you look at all the things that have to go right. All it's saying is you've got the best dog on that given night or the best pack of dogs. If you, and with competition hunting, you've got to be a good handler too. There, people have tried to put percentages on that to tell how much is dog and how much is handler, and I don't think we put enough emphasis on the handler side or give the handler, because I've seen some really nice dogs where the guy ended up not winning the cast. I mean, I've beat dogs like that before. Guy had a better dog than I had, but he made a mistake and he didn't win.
Yeah.
I've won casts before and knew that I didn't have the best dog in the cast.
But that's kind of been the conundrum with like hog hunting tournaments. So like for years, like me and some other friends have tried to, you know, try to come up with a competition
Format.
that kind of somewhat mimics coon hunting, because in format you have coon hunters have one of the most uh, I mean,
Defined, yeah,
well that
established.
well not really established, but that form that you guys competition coon hunt in theory should show the best dog slash handler
Mm-hmm.
on any given night. Where coon hunting or hog hunting, it's just you can't really do that. Like we can't mix dogs. Like it's impossible to, for me to take a hog dog, and you take a hog dog, and two other guys take a hog dog, and we go out and cast all these dogs because, well, for one, I mean, we hunt packs of dogs, and we hunt in so many different styles that you can't just throw four random people into a group, Basically, so we've been trying to come up with a way to measure hog dogs in a competition where it's not so much about the places you have to hunt and more about the actual dog. And we just cannot. We I don't think it's possible.
Right. It'd be tough. I think
Yeah,
you'd almost have to hunt them, bay dog versus catch dog, run and catch dog styles of dogs or something. You'd have to, I don't even know if you could do it then. But by the time you
yeah. I
get
mean,
there, that'd be, it's not
it's
like if
tough.
a raccoon runs and it runs up a tree and you got to call your dog. When you're talking about a hog hunt, you're going to start yelling bay, get bay points, call them bay first. And then how do you prove that? You know, that
Yeah. How do
I
you
don't,
prove whose dog broke the bay, or
exactly.
uh, and that's what I'm saying. So
We
there
know
are,
when we're out there hog hunting.
yeah, but I mean, there's some guys who one off who catch hogs with one dog. Pretty rare. It's totally doable, but it's pretty rare. So I mean, for the most part, your pack works together. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have a good strike dog, and then you might have a good track dog, and then you got what I call like a stop dog. A dog's good at getting that pig to stop and bay up, and So I mean, we have all these different facets in different dogs. So you know, and I could have four dogs that work really well together, three dogs that work really well together, and then we do a competition where me and you go together and we throw all our six dogs together, and it's not going to work. I mean, it seldom works. I mean, even when you're just like pleasure hunting, like, oh yeah, come with me. Even then, even when we do that, generally it's like you hunt your dogs, I'll hunt my dogs, but it's rare that we're just like toss them all in the salad and let's go catch pigs.
You got to dump the box. Get to
Yeah, I'm not.
strike,
I'm
and
not.
everybody just
Yeah,
dumps the box.
I'm
Tailgate
not.
down.
I'm not a big proponent of that dump the box catchphrase. I think it's bullshit.
I've seen more races blown up by doing that. You know,
I mean, what I always said, if you're just dumping the box, like to me, you're missing like the best parts of hog hunting. Because to me, like the best parts of hog hunting, if you're dumping the box, you're playing chess or you're playing checkers, and I prefer to play chess. So like,
what do you mean?
well, I mean, if you're just dumping every damn dog you got, let's go see if we can catch something. You might catch something, you might not. But I know when we're hog hunting, we're thinking about where we're at, hogs that we know personally that might be in the area, the way they've ran in the past. We're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about all the different attributes of each dog. Like when me and Tanner go to the back of the box, we might stand there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes discussing which dogs need to come out. Like this, yeah, we put these two together, they're liable to just chase each other. Well, we don't need those two dogs because we just need one rough dog, you know. So we're like playing chess. We're like trying. I'm not saying we get it right every time,
Do
but
you guys have a board meeting at the tailgate?
pretty much. And to me, that's one of the best parts of it is like how complex it can be. Like dumping the box is just so damn simple. Like, I mean, if you want to do that, you're obviously more than welcome to do it. To me, uh, that's not exciting to me.
Yeah, I've just seen it not work a lot. And usually it ends up blowing races up unless every dog you got in there is just rock solid. I'll tell you somebody that I saw do this with great success uh, was Wade Hollerman and Hunter Meekum. They'd get a rig strike. They didn't have any cheerleaders in the box. Man, they'd get a rig strike. They knew what they had in the box. They were going the right way, and boom, away they go. They,
You're talking bear,
bear
right?
hunting, yeah.
Well, yeah. See,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know bear hunting, hog hunting. Like you could have 3 dog boxes full of superb dogs, and dumping the box is not going to get you anything. Like, so we
Why
have to
not?
think.
What's different? What's different about it?
Well, in bear hunt, from my like totally amateur interpretation of bear hunting, you're just applying pressure. You're just applying dog pressure one direction. Like the more pressure you put, the more chances he's going to go up that tree. So hogs can't climb. So a hog has to decide despite what anybody will tell you, a hog decides when he's going to stop and bay up. He's going to find a spot where he has a strategic advantage, uh, or he might just have the wind pumped out of him and he has to. But so we like run this tightrope between enough pressure but not too much pressure, because if a hog can run all day,
Mm-hmm.
so if I just dump the box on him and put crazy amounts of pressure on this pig, even though all 9 dogs on the ground are amazing hog dogs, well, I don't know about you, but if 9 dudes chase me out of a bar, I'm probably not going to stop and spin around and put my dukes up. I mean, I'm going to keep running because I know I'm going to lose this battle. So you have to, on the flip side of it, you can put 3 dogs behind a pig that don't put enough pressure, and he'll run all day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
That's what I was
balance.
getting ready to say. I mean, at what point do you have to have enough catch or put enough heat on them to put the brakes on one? It sounds like to me, hog hunting has been the closest thing to bear hunting
Oh
that
yeah,
I've been able to find.
yeah.
Um, because you've got to have the right amount of pressure. You can't have too much pressure. You know, if you don't have enough pressure on a bear, he'll walk you to death, and
Same thing. Yeah.
They can run all day.
Same thing with a pig. You got to put enough. The dog has to put enough pressure to like get that pig's like respect or attention.
Mm-hmm.
That hey, I gotta stop and fight. You know. But then on the obviously, like I just said, on the flip side, you can't put so much pressure that this pig is like, if I stop, these dudes are just going to maul me to death. You know.
Yeah.
So it's a balance, and that's what I like about hog hunting is that balance. You know. So I'm not a big proponent of dump the box. Not saying I've never done it. We might do it every once. We usually do it at the end of the hunt when it's like, usually if we're dumping the box, it's just try to get something stirred up. Like,
well, the other obvious thing about dumping the box when you get a rig strike is if you get a rig strike on a bear, more than likely it's one bear. You know, you're looking at a sounder of pigs that could split, and maybe they're on two sides of the road, and then you got a real mess on your hands. I mean, that's what I've seen. It's like you're going down through there, and all of a sudden everybody drops everything out, and now you got dogs scattered and going 6 different directions, and
yeah, I mean, typically we don't rig a whole lot. So if we've got 1 or 2 dogs out and they're hunting in the woods and we hear them strike, I'm real like I don't like to turn dogs into that. So it's like those dogs got this. They know their job. They can handle it.
Yeah.
They get to do it. I mean, obviously, like if we've got young pups with us, we'll do that a few times. But you do that too many times, and you end up with Me Too dogs that just sit around and wait for another dog to bark. So, I mean, that's kind of the difference, at least in the way that we hog hunt and the way that a lot of guys rig for bear. Like, we're not really, me personally, me and Tanner, we're not rigging a pig and then putting heat to him. Like, we've already got the dogs out there that when they strike him, they got enough sand to take care of it.
I've never hunted with your dog, so when you cut loose, like when you get to a hunting spot, I know you guys walk hunt a lot.
No, we don't.
You don't?
No.
Well, you said Tanner's not afraid to get in the brush, so.
No, I mean, Tanner will go walk every once in a while, but no, I mean, we don't.
Well, how do you normally do it then? I misunderstood you.
I mean, we typically free cast, so we just.
Okay, so the question I had was what kind of range do you expect on a free cast when you turn one of your dogs or your dogs loose to go hog hunt?
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, Tanner and I have been kind of like dialing it back. It used to be that like if we turn dogs loose, that they were not supposed to come back to us till they struck a pig. I mean, if it was a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, like we didn't care. Like they're supposed to keep going until they strike something and then run and bay it. But over the last 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years, well, when we hunted back when we hunted in that style, we didn't have that many pigs here by the house, so that was our best means of a successful hunt was dogs that would just go like flat out go until they find something. Now we've got more pigs, and so we typically want ours to go about 3/4 to a mile. Like if they don't strike something in 3/4 to a mile, then we want them to kind of start working their way back to us. But we don't just put dogs out and then start walking. Like I'm so philosophically opposed to that. Like I will not do that.
The reason I asked was because, you know, that's the way coon hunting is too. I'm not walking a dog to go find a raccoon. If they can't figure out that they need to get away from me and go find a coon track and tree it. But the term free casting, that's one of those terms that takes different meanings in different regions. We were hunting in White Mountains one time, and we were bear hunting, and we were rigging in. We rigged for part of the morning, and somebody said, "Well, let's go free cast off this ridge." And I'm thinking that's what I'm talking about. That's my game right there. We're lined up on top of this head of this hellhole down through there. You could tell it was going to be rough, blown down timber and different stuff. We're lined up there, and they're like, "Okay, well, you take a couple dogs, you take a couple dogs, and we're free casting from right here." And I line up and I turn them loose, and my dogs are gone, and I'm just planning on standing there. I can see the whole drain, I can hear it. I got a Garmin. I'm in a good spot. A couple other guys turned their dogs loose, and then they jumped off the edge and started walking down through there with their dogs, and their dogs were like 60 yards, 70, 80 yards away from them the whole time. We ended up walking all the way through that hellhole, 7 miles through to the other end, and their dogs never got over 100 yards away. That's not free casting to me, but that's free casting to some people.
No, I mean, no, that's not free casting. And to the people that think that's free casting, they're wrong. Like in the hog hunting world, we're kind of the redheaded stepchildren. We're the newcomers, and it seems like most of the other dog sports kind of get, not all the time, most of the time they kind of understand the term cast. I don't think 50% of hog hunters understand the term cast, because I'm right there with you. If I cast a dog, that's me sending a dog.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's just, I mean, that's not a big deal. I mean, it's just semantics. I mean, it's just people using the wrong word. But yeah, so when I say free cast, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to walk this dog. I'm going to send this dog, and on the free side of it, that means I'm not going to send him in the middle of a wheat field, or a plowed over field. But I'm driving to a spot, and I'm sending them in a direction I think they'll succeed. But I'm free casting them, and that's different than like track casting a dog, where I find a hot track and cast a dog down a track.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I say free, we're sending them out there. We think there's probably pigs here. There should be pigs here, but it's 100% up to the dog to find that track and run it. We're not setting them onto a track. But a crazy amount of confusion around those terms.
Well, that's part of it. That's the only reason I brought it up. Well, that's why I'm glad we're talking about it, because there seems to be like this language barrier when you get to different regions of the country. If I say free casting to somebody, it means something completely different to, like my buddy Larry Anderson that lived up in the Northwest. He says free cast, and that means he's putting in some miles with boots on that day and walking down the ridge. And I'm like, wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be easier for me to send a coon dog style dog up here, and let them cover that ground? I can hear that whole mountainside. Wherever they're at on that mountainside, I'm going to hear them. Let them run out there and search the area, use the wind currents, get something up, and then we figure it out. But he told me, he's like, here's a problem with that. He goes, I send dogs like that, and they get in there and they get in trouble with wolves. He said, I just lost some good dogs. The other flip side to it is, they could be running a lion track or a bear track through that same country and getting in trouble with wolves, and you're going to lose some good dogs too. But it's just huge as well. I mean, when you're so limited to where it's easy for me to say it when I live in Indiana and I can drive around to the next county road that might be at farthest 2 miles on the other side of the dogs and head them off and pick them up. But out there, they're in the road there. You're looking at the Bob Marshall Wilderness, or you're looking at the Gila or something like that, and your dogs are just gone.
Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, I'm not saying free cast dogs are the best. To me, it's what works best, but I'm not saying that's the best. But my main gripe is like, can't we all get in the same vocabulary here? Because like, if some dog hunter says free cast, we should all have an idea of what he's talking about. not to put, not say there's anything wrong with walking your dogs. I think there is, but that's me. But let's call it what it is. Like, so if somebody's got a dog for sale, and says, "Hey, this dog free cast a mile," and I drive to Maine to look at this dog, and this guy's idea of free cast a mile is him walking this dog a mile. Well, shit, I just wasted 30 hours driving because of vocabulary differences.
Right. Right.
We should all get on the same page. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's pretty simple. I mean, to me, it seems to make sense, but
Right.
I guess not.
Well, I guess so. Chris is saying, but I also think free casting is when I'm on my mule.
I don't think so. I mean, I've hunted off mules. I hunted off mules for years and years, and yeah, like when you're hunting off a mule, I mean, at least in the terrain that we were hunting, I mean, it's rough. It meant rough, hilly country, so we didn't want dogs that went a mile because there's no telling how long it might take us to even ride a mule a mile. They're probably more than likely we're going to come to a point where we got to tie the mules up and take off on foot. So we didn't want dogs getting that far away. So when we hunted off mules, they were walk style dogs that stayed 3, 4, 5, 600 yards from the mules or us. But I would never think to consider them dogs free cast dogs. I would consider them like walk dogs, because it was pretty much what you're doing. You're just sitting on the back of a mule instead of wearing out your boots.
Well, like when we when we hunt off mules here, when we coon hunt, you're still free casting that dog. You're just riding the mule to the area the dogs are treed or the area where the dogs are trailing.
Well, I mean, but I guarantee you that. So if I free cast a dog and then take off after him on a mule.
No, we don't take. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I free cast that dog. He's going hunting on his own. I'm sitting on the back of the mule, and watching a Garmin or listening for the strike and hearing the tree. He's going and doing his own thing.
Yeah. I mean,
the mule's just transportation.
Yeah, just like your truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. I would say that's not how most people, from my experience, that's not how most people hunt horseback, but that's just me. I mean, we pretty much try to keep fairly close to him. I think that's what Chris Watson's talking about, but
yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the snitches part of it, because the thing that was alarming to me about the attitude, I guess, was the reaction to these cheaters, and that people were coming out and trying to defend them. And I thought, you can't tolerate cheaters when it happened in the happens in the competition coon hunting world. Then those guys get banned, they get ostracized, they get shunned. It happens in the bass fishing world. We saw what happened with the walleye guys, and as a community, we just have to stand up and say, you cheat, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that, and again, like, I'm not condemning these guys because I have no information. I'm in no place to put judgment on them. So I'm just talking in the theory that they're guilty, but they are not guilty yet. But there was a whole bunch of people that just were kind of like laughing about it, and they're like, I read some comments that were like, some guy would get on there and kind of talk a little bit of shit about it, and then like the reply to that comment would be like, well, why are you mad? Like, you didn't even have a chance of winning. Like, your dogs aren't even good enough for you to think about placing. Like, well, yeah, not if the deck is stacked with guys who catch them 2 weeks before,
Yeah.
But there was a whole bunch of this, like, kind of that kind of shit, and then like I say, kind of like people that were kind of laughing about it, like there was something funny about it.
Yeah,
and
they're just passing it off as like, yeah, this is funny.
Yeah, there there was some lightheartedness about like, oh yeah, well now we see who the real outlaws are, ha ha ha, kind of saying that other guys weren't real outlaws,
Right.
and it's like, man, I mean, I take that stuff a lot more serious, I guess, than some of these people because, for starters, like it varies competition to competition, but most most hunts are 4 man, and entry fees are usually anywhere between $300 to $500. So right off the bat, you're $300, $400, $500 deep in entry fees, and then trust me, the gas for 2 or 3 pickup trucks pulling trailers with side
Hmm.
by sides, and I mean, I've gone to the grocery store before a, a 3 day hunt and spent $150 on junk food and batteries,
I was
and
gonna say Little
you know,
Debbie's.
yeah. I mean, it's not cheap. I mean, I would say most 3 day hunts with 4 dudes in them, I'd say pretty easily you're $1,000 deep.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we're not talking like total chump change. I mean, it's real money, and there's real money to be won and real money to be stolen.
Right.
So it's not a laughing matter. I mean, it's not cute. Uh, and this whole like anti-snitch culture, man. I mean, maybe I come from a totally different culture than some of these people that made these comments, but I'm not. My culture is nowhere near that. Like snitching, I don't even like that word. Like
Right.
the problem isn't that somebody told on somebody for doing something. The problem is that somebody did something. You know,
Exactly.
that's so it's no different than, okay. So let's say that, totally theoretical, because I've never even met your wife, but I find out that your wife's cheating on you, and I come up to you and I'm like, Chris, man, I saw this, heard this, blah blah blah, and you get
Hmm.
mad at me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that happens a lot though too.
oh, it happens a shit
Yeah.
ton,
That
but
kind of stuff happens.
that's what I'm saying. The problem isn't that somebody told. The problem is that somebody did something that was damn bad and they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that just seems. I think we're living in a culture where it's like, yeah, we put the title up there, "Snitches get stitches," and that's cute and it's funny to say and stuff like that. But I mean, it's theft, and my thoughts on the whole thing were, and I'm not going to throw names out there, but I know of some guys that were big time in competition coon hunting that got caught red-handed doing some dastardly things that altered the outcome of a hunt. Um, they got they got banned, barred, shunned, and they're just like, and nobody cared. It's like, good. That's baloney. You had some hardcore groupies and stuff that were like, well, everybody's done it, and they're just being hard on him because of this, and they didn't like it. The reason, the thing that he was always winning, so they had to get him out of the way, and all this other garbage. But he was caught red-handed doing it. And as far as like I keep talking about the walleye fishermen, you got to have a standard, and you got to have a set of rules that you live by. And man, if you decide you're going to break them, you better be ready to handle some consequences, up to and including somebody tuning you up in the parking lot if that's what happens. You can't get on Facebook and cry about it.
And that's the thing. Hog hunters are pretty good at that. Like
Yeah,
somebody might get tuned up, but like
yeah,
I'm sitting there talking about like the the theft money side of that equation, that's a consequence of these guys cheating or supposedly cheating. But what I think a lot of people might not think about is like they're stealing from the entire culture, because
exactly.
so, like I say, I've been done with hog hunting competitions for a number of years, partly because of my age, partly because I just don't feel the need to prove myself, and partly because I don't have the dogs that could win, and a bunch of reasons. But I've been done with it for a number of years. A couple times a year, or maybe once a year, Tanner and these younger guys I hunt with, they'll enter one, and I won't I won't be a team member, but I'll just hang out with them a little bit. But so I'm kind of already out of, I'm speaking from outside already. But if I was still like totally, you know, in invested in hog hunting competitions, this would totally turn me off. Like there's always been like mumblings of cheating, but it was never really concrete, and it was never really that big a deal. It was just like, oh, smaller infractions, but it's always been a thing. But so these guys who supposedly cheated, it was two different contests, two of the bigger ones. So who is going to go enter those next year?
You know what I think? I think there were probably some Louisiana undercover officers that had Louisiana Game and Fish probably got the call. It's like, hey, we know these guys are transporting hogs from wherever into Louisiana. So they sent a couple undercovers in there and nailed it all down and figured it all out and hunted with them and did the whole 9 yards. That's my gut feeling. I'll bet you by the time it's all over, we'll find out that there was some undercover work done on it.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, getting at is like, so hog hunting competitions will probably be like a thing of the past. I'm not next year, not the year after, but at some point it's just going to be, because there'll be some other dudes get caught cheating. It'll go by the wayside. So these people that cheat are like robbing all of us of a piece of our culture.
I think the way that I think there's real danger of that happening if the hog hunting community wants to make light of the fact that they cheated. I think the way people react to it can mean a lot. If the hog hunting community would stand up and say, "These guys do not represent me," no, and make their stand on that, I don't necessarily think that hog hunting contests are in danger of ending simply because somebody got caught cheating doing it. The things that are going to hurt are the fact that somebody was willing to go to Texas where they want to kill all the pigs, bring them to Louisiana that doesn't want the pigs, and transport them across state lines like that. Those are the types of things that have some real dangers of ending the hog hunting competitions.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, it's not coon hunting competitions. It's already kind of, hunting competitions have already been on the downslide for
everything from coyote contest to the thing.
5-6 years, and part of it is legislation. So like, used to, a lot of the reason for hog hunting competitions was that people who, kind of twofold. So you had like people that had bay pens would put on a hog hunting competition to get all these live hogs that they could sort through and pick some to be their pinned hogs. And on the other side of it, I mean, kind of the same side of it, you had hog buyers, and this is years back, when we could catch and move live hogs a lot easier. So then you had hog buyers that bought for the European meat market. They're not accepting dead hogs; they want live hogs. So they would put on these competitions, or someone representing them would put on a hog hunting competition, and it really was just about getting large numbers of live hogs in a position to be bought for them to make money on.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So the I mean, the number of states where you can do those kind of live hog hunts, has like totally dwindled down to pretty much Louisiana and Texas. So those driving forces are kind of going out the window for all of us in Arkansas, Mississippi, Oklahoma, what have you. So like all we can technically in Oklahoma, we could have a live hog tournament, but all the participants would have to jump through so many hoops, and it's a huge hoopla. Nobody's
Sure.
doing it.
Sure.
So it's kind of already. So what I'm getting at is hog hunting competitions are already kind of on the downslide anyway. It's not becoming. It's not. It's kind of ceased to be like economically viable for anybody on either side of it. Pretty much, we're just hunting these competitions for like bragging rights, a belt buckle, and some like
Right.
notoriety. So if the honorability is out the window, who wants a belt buckle if it means nothing? You know. So
There's people, I don't know, Ed. There's people that do that kind of stuff all the time. They'll wear that belt buckle, wear it to Earls, and everybody come up and and recognize, man, that guy's won that competition for last 5 years, and just for that ego type stuff. And I mean, we're human beings, and there's certain human beings that's where they put their value. They've never been able
yeah,
to accomplish anything else in their life, but they figured out how to scam the hog hunting competition and get the belt buckle for 5 years
yeah.
straight.
I mean,
He's
but
going to be in the hog hunting Hall of Fame.
what I was kind of getting at was not really. I mean, we already kind of talked about the dude who cheats to get the belt buckle and has to look in the mirror. But what I was saying was like, so if it just becomes this like culture of cheating, and I just see some dude with the belt buckle that he
Yeah,
won,
yeah.
am I going to place any
You
value?
cheapened it. Yeah,
Am I going to place any value on that?
exactly.
Used to like, oh my goodness, so and so won such and such hunt.
Yeah,
Like, damn, like that's a big hunt. There's like 34 teams. Like that's tough to win.
right.
But what I'm getting at is if cheating becomes a norm, then I'm not even gonna look at who won because I'm just gonna automatically assume like, oh, that's just a bunch of BS. Like that means nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think competition coon hunting with all of its faults, and everything has faults. Everything can be improved and stuff like that. But as far as competition goes, it is probably the most refined sport of being able to free cast dogs and go out and evaluate dogs in the wild doing the things that they do, just because there's been so much. I mean, it's been happening since 1956, 19 somewhere in the 1950s. So there's been a lot of water going under the bridge, and a lot of refinements made, and standards set, and you know the way the hunts are conducted. If you've ever been to a big large competition coon hunt, like, I mean, Autumn Oaks is obviously the biggest one, but I mean, it runs like a well-oiled machine because they do it that kind of thing so much, and and get those casts out the door and taking entries and satellite clubs and everything. But that's not to say somebody's not willing to bend the rules. It's not saying that that competition is exempt. Anytime there's something to win, there's something that, and I don't care if it's NASCAR, it's deflating footballs or whatever. There's somebody that's willing to push the envelope or bend the rules in order to win.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of the nature of coon hunting, though. So I mean, like, so when you guys go out, you get four guys who are not on the same team,
Right.
you know. So there's kind of already like a check and balance system.
Yep.
And just by the nature of all gunning, we do it exactly the opposite. So you get four guys on the same team, go out in the woods totally by themselves, you know, and we're
Yeah.
just like, hey guys, don't cheat,
Yeah.
you know. But there,
Yeah.
there's nobody there to check. And there's been people who've been like, oh yeah, well, uh, I don't know if there's ever been a hunt, but I've heard a bunch of talk about it in the past. Like, okay, we're gonna send a judge. Not really a judge isn't the right word, but we're gonna send like an observer with each team. And I'm like, whenever somebody says, where are you going to find these like observers? Because this is some tough, like I paid my money in,
Right.
I got money,
Same things happen with non-hunting judges in competition coon hunting.
They get bought out. They get bought out.
No, I mean we used to run non-hunting judges on all of the night champion casts and stuff like that. But like you said, who are we going to have go do that?
But
you can't find the judges.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking what, 3-4 hours?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
you're talking 3 days.
I'm talking 3 days. Like
I know,
no sleep. Like it's
sign
hard.
me up.
It's hard to do. Yeah, what idiot is going to sign up to do that? If you were like, yeah, Ed, we're going to do it this way, and we're going to pay you $1,000 to go with such and such team for 3 days, I'd be like, no,
right,
double it, and I might.
Right, yeah, for sure.
So it's just kind of the nature of it, that it's kind of a tough thing to judge.
Yep, for sure.
We do. I mean, a lot of the competitions do like lie detector test, and it really, I've been at plenty of hunts where there was lie detector test given, and still people still talked about the cheating that went on.
Right. Well, I don't know. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, hanging with us through this thing. This is what we do. Ed and I don't talk on the phone all week, so we can have these conversations and just talk about this kind of stuff on the live show or on Raw Dog. So when we're doing the podcast, but just so everybody knows, we're going to do this every Tuesday night, most of the time, same time. And try to get together. And sometimes it might appear that I'm in a hotel room somewhere, which I will be.
Yeah, and we never have a topic picked. Or sometimes Chris might, but he doesn't tell me about it.
Yeah,
but we don't generally have like, well, we're going to talk about this. So like, being honest, like if you want to hear about something, all you got to do, it'd be really easy to steer us to talk about something that you want us to talk about.
Steer us over in the comments. Hey, I want to hear your opinion on this. What do you think about this?
Yeah,
we'll give you our opinions, I promise.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
we're usually looking for something to talk about. So if you got something on your mind, just jump in the comments and we'll probably go there.
Yeah, the reason we're going live is so that we can be interactive with everybody that's tuning in and talking about that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be what we want to talk about. We see a good enough comment, we'll jump on it.
Yeah, and going live is cool because there's no editing going on.
Right. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up, Ed.
Okay.
Yep. I think I've kind of made that tagline: always opinionated, occasionally substantiated. That's what Raw Dog's all about. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking time. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Okay, we'll see you.